My name is Jeffrey Christensen. I am a 61 married male, and my wife and I live in northern Idaho. We have been married 17 plus years, known each other for 19. Have 9 children between us. I had 4, she had 5 when we got married. They're all good kids, just phenomenal kids. They're getting married and whatnot, and giving us grandkids, which is a good thing, I guess. So we're pretty happy about that scenario. The reason for my video today is to talk about my experience with stock ticker MMTLP, and it's been an interesting experience. I will say that I originally have never been in the stock market ever before. I am self-employed. The companies that I've worked for have never offered investment opportunities or 401ks or whatnot. They've all been pretty much private companies. However, I'm a CEO of my own company currently. I am self-employed and have been for 15, 16 years. I like what I do. I'm a healthcare consultant. And I have a good life. I'll say that I probably have, on the standards of American scales, I probably have a pretty good normal life, is what I'd say. But I'm also highly conservative financially, and with my company, I'm very conservative with it as well. And I was just raised that way. That's the way my parents were, my grandparents, family. We've all been really conservative individuals and believe in hard work. My story and investment story starts out where my brother introduced me to stock ticker MMTLP in 2021. Realistically, he was a Torchlight holder and an OG, and he invested in that organization through his 401k, and then he opened up a privately held trading account and started trading, and was doing quite well. And I looked at this and I thought, well, this is a great way. I am now 61. I 60 at the time. I was wanting to augment my ability to retire, and this presented a great opportunity after doing some deep research and deep discovery and what they call D&D. I did a great amount of that, and he helped me open up my own account, and I invested into 2 stocks, MMTLP and MMAT. Both companies, in my opinion, are solid, good companies. And so I anticipated, because the MMTLP, having come from Torchlight and merged with MMAT, was not to be a publicly traded stock, but it was just a stock that was a placeholder. Meaning it was sitting there, and it was the day that it was sold, it was going to be a paid out dividend to the shareholders. But somehow that got manipulated into trading, and it wasn't supposed to. But it ended up trading, so that meant that somebody created a stock ticker, MMTLP, and it wasn't the CEOs of either Torch or Meta that did that. It was done fraudulently. Knowing that the company MMAT was going to take care of that, and doing the research into that, I could see that they were going to spin this off to a new company called NextBridge Hydrocarbons, which is a privately held company. Knowing that they were taking a publicly traded company to a private company means that all short positions had to be closed so that the shareholders of MMTLP could receive a 1-to-1 transfer into shares of NextBridge Hydrocarbons. That was the philosophy which I was banking on. I looked at that pretty heavily and started investing, and I invested heavily into the stock ticker MMTLP. I felt that it was a fundamentally mentally sound organization backed up with oil and gas assets. And anybody knows pretty much if you're investing in oil and gas, there is more than likely some type of dividend on it that's paid out for oil and gas. So even if I held that till the oil and gas dividend started paying out, or the company sold and merged or whatever it may have done, we'd be able to obtain oil and gas assets or dividends, that oil and gas has dividend from that from Mexbridge Hydro Company or whatever company that purchased them and have residual income. That looked really attractive to me, so I invested pretty heavily. I did not invest more than I could lose. I invested reasonably smart, but I still went in heavily at most people's standards. Now, what does that mean to me today? Today I am mystified. I am totally not understanding what happened in the marketplace. FINRA, 2 days prior to the completion, or 4 days prior to the completion, but 2 days prior to the actual record date, FINRA stopped the trading of this stock ticker. They put a U3 halt, and it sat there as of current date on this video, which is the 21st of February. There is no communication. There is no oversight that had been issued by the SEC on FINRA or any of their officers, and they're just sitting here in limbo land. Now, to me, that's like, how can that happen in our stock market? First off, shorting and naked shorting. Shorting's okay, they do that, but naked shorting is creating a counterfeit of a counterfeit of a counterfeit over and over, repetitively driving the stock price of a company down so that they can profit, trying to drive it into a non-financial viable scenario where they can actually bankrupt the company and then they don't pay taxes on the money, which they manipulated that stock price to zero. Everything that they made while it fell is profit to them, and they keep it and don't pay taxes. Now, if that was you and I, the IRS would, by George, make you and I pay taxes. And I paid my share of taxes, I'm still paying my share of taxes. But the question I have is why do we allow this? Now, you can say, who have you talked to and what have you done? I've talked to everybody. I've talked to my legislators, I've talked to FINRA, I've talked to the SEC, I've talked to the DTCC, I have talked to ATS, which is the transfer company, and I have found out that I have nothing more than air. My broker says that I have a placeholder with a CUSIP number that is no longer MMET, but just a placeholder in their name, which is they call street name, not in my name. So I've got nothing but air. I am waiting for a resolve, but there was some time, as an optimist, I believe there has to be some type of resolve. My question to you folks out there that watches this video is, why put yourself through this type of misery? The market's not fair. It's manipulated. I have learned that this has been going on since 2008 and before. Patrick Byrne brought it to the government's attention, brought it in front of SEC, brought it in front of Senate and Congress, and exploded this on the scene in 2008, and they didn't stop it. Here today in 2023, we're still dealing with the same systemic issues that they were dealing with back then. They're only rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. Their average take on an individual's IRA is, from what I've read, is about $350 annually. Take that amortized over 30 years, that is an astronomical amount of money that you're giving them that you probably don't even know you're giving them. You're not giving it, they're just taking it from you. So my question is what does that future look like if we have such a market that it takes from you, and it's like gambling, except for you don't have the 26% odds that most casinos will give you to win. You have zero. That's not fair to you. That's not fair to me. If we don't get change, we're going to be taken advantage of. If we don't stop this, for our generation and for our children's generation, there'll be nothing left. 10 years from now, they'll be slaves to the gods of socialism, or whatever you may call it, but they'll be enslaved to a financial world of cesspool that they can't get themselves out of, and their futures will not be bright. The American dream will not happen for them and for our grandchildren. Well, that's not even a discussable topic. So I hope that people that are watching this video look at it seriously, do your own research, and see if there isn't something that you can put your heart into and make the system change for the betterment of us, our children, and our grandchildren.